All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, for being in this class, and thank you for showing up. Um, so this was our intro into today's class, which is beautiful songs, heartfelt songs, and a praise, basically a praise song. And so, yeah, we've every reason to be, say, grateful, especially today, just like no other. Like every day is a day to be grateful, but this is certainly is one too. So I'm really happy that you joined in this miracle introduction class. But at the same time, it is a we don't do this just to do a class. So it's also the possibility of and the invitation to celebrate, to feel like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I can remember who I am. Oh, thank you. Oh, for a moment I come closer to reality, or actually can align myself with reality in this moment, which is so incredible that that opportunity is here. For a moment I just thought that I was in a complete separation, in a complete isolation with myself, thinking that everything that is presented in this world as what I call my perception was my reality. So this is our celebration to to be free of that. And the way to it is a bit of training that we do with the introduction to miracles. Like it is certainly necessary to train yourself, to train your mind, and to discover what is the origin of what I see, and what is the origin actually of where I want to come from, of what is my origin in itself. I want to get in touch with that. So this class is really for that, to realize that, but also to celebrate it. So that's why it took some time to relax into these songs that are actually opening your heart up for like, oh yes, thank you, hallelujah. Oh my God, I'm actually free of the burden that I carried with me for so long. At least now I found a way to come out of that, to have a whole new experience of myself in this. So the miracles class that we're doing right now. So we use the book, the Urtext of A Course in Miracles, the complete 7-volume combined edition. And that means that there are 7 volumes in this book. We're only going to use the first chapter of the first volume, so no need to become anxious about that. But there's enough in there. So that is the amazing thing with A Course in Miracles. It is like you can read one line, you can read a paragraph, you can read a chapter, but it will all relate to the same whole idea, and it's like an integral part. So it doesn't really matter what you read. Sometimes a word can do even more than a whole paragraph, because it touches you, it resonates with you, and this is where you can completely trust in. It's like, oh, that word's apparently very important for me because it resonates with me. I love to think that. I love to stay with that for a moment before I move on to reading more. Like, it is not about reading this book from the beginning to the end. Absolutely not. But it is worth taking time to let yourself be affected by what it says. And that goes on a daily basis. You take a piece that you really love to read, and discover, like, yes, now I'm reading a couple of paragraphs, but this line is really sticking with me. It is so exactly formulating what I actually need as a guidance in this moment, that I'm going to use that today. So that is a really great way to use this, to come actually um, into the practical application of what it says. So, but here it makes it easier. Like, you know that you're going through an undoing process in your awakening. Awakening from the dream of death, of limitation, to resurrection, to your wholeness, to realizing that there's no such thing as death. So you know that there's a process connected to it, and so the thing that we um, that we can use here is to go step by step. You just take what is being given in the moment, and to receive that, we actually start to relax first. We come to this place where we actually are able to say to receive this for ourselves, which can, like in the word text it's being said too, it's like good learning conditions. So when do I find myself in the place of good learning conditions? When am I actually willing to read what this says, and yeah, willing to receive that for myself? And I have to find these moments in which I'm actually in the mood to do this. And so when you start to read this and you actually discover, it's like, oh my God, I feel so much resistance to even reading this. Then you just wait for a moment, maybe a couple of minutes later, and you try it again and see if it changed, because it can change very quickly. Suddenly you find yourself in a whole different moment altogether, and you're able to read for a moment. See, and then mostly it is like the first couple of minutes that you start to read, you actually overcome the resistance to receive this, and actually you want more. That is also the case when overcoming your little resistance and become more willing to read this. And why is there resistance, you ask? Like, why is there resistance even to read this? Because it's beautiful, it's whole, it's in alignment with your perfection. Why wouldn't you want to read this? What is this resistance? Like, well, you feel that it can have different reasons that you feel the resistance, but one of them is this. So you can feel that what's being presented is actually giving you something to do, something to let go of. See, it is when you hear something um, and you really hear it, so to speak, then you can't ignore it, that you heard it. And that puts you in the position of, well, I've heard this and I cannot repeat that for myself. Like, I cannot repeat the same mistake again because I've heard this. I know what this is about. And I'm not going to fall into that trap again. So the resistance can actually be to learn something new. It's really interesting, isn't it? But this is how your human mind works. So one of the essential characteristics of your so-called ego is the perpetuation of the conflict, the not wanting to have the solution being presented, because that would be the end of your ego mind. If you really see what it does, it disappears. And so that is the same with resistance. Of course, it's your so-called ego resisting. But for now, we just take you as your ego, like you are that ego. You feel the resistance, so you identify with your ego in the first place. You really think that that is you. Everything that is based on your perception, relating to this body, is in fact ego-based. Because the body is the ego vehicle. It's using it to attack itself and to show its, like, to prove to you that you are separate, because you are here, located in this thing here, and you are apparently on the other side of the world, on the other side of the ocean. So here you have proof that there's such thing as separation in ways of perception of the ego, the way the ego perceives. See, and that is so great. If we come together, you can actually have an experience that completely dissolves, that you feel no distance at all, and like as if I'm sitting next to you or in the room next door, doing this. It's like time and space, distance. It doesn't make any sense in your new experience of yourself. So you cannot really hold on to that idea that you are separate. Only in your wildest dreams, like only in your fear dreams, in your nightmares, you can actually dream that. Because the whole universe is actually showing you on a continuing basis that there's no such thing as separation. So you in your own little bubble can prove that to yourself if you feel like that. But see, it's not a shared experience. That's the problem with the separation. It's not a shared experience. So that means that you're the only one having that experience with yourself. And you can prove that to yourself as much as you like, but it doesn't take away that it is just yours, yeah, man-made. It's made by you, proving to yourself that you're separate, while the whole universe is uniting with every little aspect of creation, including you. So you can never completely prove that you're separate, because you will discover it isn't. And that's why there's always hope in that sense. And like it cannot become completely dark. And I think we're going to read about that too a little bit in the next chapter that in the next parts that we will read. Like you will never be able to completely darken your vision. There's always a little bit of light left over, and that's to your advantage. And on the other hand, if there's a new insight, if there's a new light shining in you, discovering that the darkness cannot uphold this darkness, but is being shown away by the light, then you see that darkness is just an image, it's just an idea that you hold about yourself. It has no real meaning at all. So as a little introduction and maybe a bit of sidetrack, it is not really a sidetrack, but you can say like, well, that's not in the Urtext. And I will say, yes, indeed, but it is too. Is this little piece that I sent out to everyone today about the physical resurrection, like the reality of physical resurrection. I just want to say grab a couple of paragraphs out of that to use that here to show you how your mind is working, how you are creating ideas in your mind that actually dissolve just by new insight. So I'll read the part. You can all read that on the website too, but I'll read this little part that I posted today because it is so amazing. And so to the point right now too. So we're in this talk with Master Teacher of A Course in Miracles, and he is sharing something here. When Jesus appeared to the disciples behind closed doors, he appears as a very solid, apparently real body. Does everyone understand this? Jesus declares that to Helen what he demonstrates to his disciples. What was accomplished? He says, the body is an illusion, and it will prove it, and I will prove it by undergoing a resurrection and then appearing as a continuing whole body. You have witnessed my apparent death in your own mind. Now witness my resurrection. And this is exactly what each of us is demonstrating, that this body is actually a resurrecting body. Each moment, isn't it? That the bodies that we are apparently formulating around us are actually whole and resurrecting everywhere, all the time, in all space, time, in every holy instant of reality. This world was over long ago. You have been, and here it is what I actually wanted to share with you, you have been but reliving that single moment when fear came to take the place of love. This is much understood. But I came to tell them that death is an illusion, and the mind that made the body, here it is, the mind that made the body can make another body, since form itself is an illusion. They did not understand, but now I talk to you and give you the same message. The death of an illusion, the loss of the world, the disappearance of these shadowy human figures that surround you mean nothing. They all disappear when you awaken and decide to dream no more. And you still do have the power to make this decision as I did. And this is the experience of our illumination and transfiguration through His Course in Miracles. That you are dreaming this dream of death and it's not real, and that each moment that it appears to be real, you can transform it totally from a dream of loss and death to the happy realization of your own resurrection and return to heaven. So I thought it was a very great piece to share in this moment also, because of the immediate link in what we are doing here and what we are receiving here for ourselves as a motivation for our training, so to speak. Like, and also to still demystify the whole idea of resurrection. Like, it is much more normal than you think. Like, you literally have no idea what you do with your mind if you think that this reality that we know as our daily life, for instance, is normal. Like, no, you didn't even take a good look at it to see it what it is. You miss actually what you are doing because you fell asleep. And so that is really great to come deeper into the fabric of your own creations too, to see how am I doing this, what am I actually making, or what am I producing, what am I creating, literally projecting when I use my ego mind. What is the effect of what I think, and how can I change that? So this is in this book, of course, but this is also in your awakening process, an essential moment where you discover what it is that you are doing and how that can be aligned with truth, instead of thinking that it is an incredible long process in which changes occur slowly and this and that. No, the new insights that are given to you in this class, for instance, but also in this text that I share, will speed up that process immensely, because there's so many things that actually you start to hear. You start to hear what that says. And that makes it for you easy to say, like, oh my God, I cannot do as if I didn't hear it. It is amazing that I come to this new insight so quickly. So that's the same with learning in the world. In that sense, you can relate to that. It's like some lessons here you don't have to learn yourself. Like, there is one who went through the whole process, and you can use his certainty that these ideas that are shared are true by choosing to do so, by literally taking that as your decision. Like, yes, I want to receive this for myself. I don't need to go through a whole crucifixion process in order to learn this. No, I actually start to accept the lessons that are presented here, and using that, applying that in my daily life to come to a new and, say, speeded up realization of my true being. And the realization of my true being is nothing more than the remembrance of that. Like, your true being is there. Your soul is shining its light on a continuing basis with there's no break in it. It has a perfect continuity. It is not depending on what you do in your own mind to deny this as what is given. So there's great opportunity to make steps that are unheard of in that sense. And not that we're in a hurry, no, but to save you lessons that are so painful to learn or so painful to be in, it can be of great help. And that is a choice that you will make at a certain point. So it's inevitable that you go through this process, and that's being said everywhere here in the course too. But also, at the same time, there is help being provided on a continuing basis where you're able to receive this for yourself and to see that that's the greatest gift by just applying it, not because it is a religion, not because it is the law of the church, or not it is because of any other than your own personal individual experience of that this is working. Suddenly there's a miracle happening. Suddenly you can relate to one and that you didn't know of, that you could. Or your presence is going to be totally different by just coming with your new mind into the same situations, but seeing that everything has changed because of you. And not to become a greater ego with, oh, look at me, what a great healer I am. No, just in you're actually perceiving that when you give from yourself with a capital S, when you start to project from there, you see absolute changes occur that you knew was possible. You actually know they were possible, but you've never seen them before because always there was fear holding you back and your own, say, gratification, your own, say, valuing of your littleness was holding you back. It's like, no, that's not up to me. No, I cannot do that, or this or that. You like, you have all kinds of excuses not to be completely present as the God, so to speak, that you are, as the one um, channel, the one giving through you, using you to extend itself. The truth needs you to extend itself, but to pick up that role in that sense, to allow that role to live you is a gift that is just beyond words, and that is why it's offered here all the time, that you get all the help that you need to come into your certainty that you can completely rely on what's being shared, and that you don't have to figure this out. You can doubt as much as you want, but in the end you will learn this because it is actually working. You will find out by applying it. So it's not that I'm trying to sell these books, though. It's not that I am affiliated in any way with the with the publisher or anything. Like, I don't try to sell this to you. It is just speaking from my own experience. Like, oh my God, I cannot imagine what has happened to me. You applying this what is being taught and extending it to whoever wants to receive it, or whenever I can extend it to everyone. I cannot believe what happened to me in this, how this changed me. It's incredible. It's incredible how quick that actually went. So amazing. So amazing. So I always say, like, well, if I can do it, you can certainly do it, because I'm not really the kind of guy that was very disciplined or anything like that. Far from it. No, I really didn't know even what to share, what to say. I was completely quiet for such a long time. And also doubting everything that I did and being afraid of everything that I did too. So to see that that can change by just starting to be touched by this, literally seeing that this is changing you, by just allowing it to occur, by sticking with the program, so to speak, by reading, by taking your time for a moment, but also by relaxing into it, that and leaning on everlasting arms more and more and more, seeing that you're completely supported, and having that confirmed in so many situations, that actually becomes obvious that it is reliable. See, this is the experience that is being offered. Just until, see, and this learning is finished when there's no need anymore to have this be confirmed in you. So if you start, they will talk later about teaching too. If you start to receive this for yourself and you start to share it, it will say validate it. It will grow the certainty of the one who is receiving it and the one who is giving it. That is the miracle of truth. Like that is the expansion of truth. So you start to rely more and more on this, and you see that that grows in a way that you cannot believe either, for sure. You know, and that is so beautiful. So it's great to have you here in this class and doing this with me, and being able to read a book that is actually your guide out of your own misery, out of your own sense of limitation. And so that's worth a celebration all the time. So that's why we started off this class with listening to some great songs to just, or to at least to open up your heart, to become grateful for this, what is happening, to see the possibilities that are suddenly available to you, to see literally this at work. So the readings that we do as part of this class is just a little part of it. We're actually going to listen to what this says. If this is what is being shared with us, we might as well read it. So there will not be too much interpretation of it, or not too much clarification. But like, yeah, some parts are very abstract. You have no idea what it's going to say until you suddenly hear it. Then it makes perfect sense. So these things are really nice too. So the instructions and the notes that are given to Helen and Bill in this book, especially in the first 2 or 3 chapters, are also say possibilities to. It is not about them. It is also for you to read that, and that is there's something being shared to you that is actually of help to you. So that's why it is left in here. And it is of great value to see how close, say, Jesus is working in this project with you. Like he works very close, and you can see how it works in Bill and Helen's life and in their practice of bringing this down, literally taking this down on paper and making notes in shorthand and working that out and organizing all of that. But see, the examples and the notes that are actually given have very much to do with the way how they cooperate. Because in the way that we cooperate, that we actually start to work with one another, you see a lot of the principles that you're actually applying, whether they are of a limited sense or more in a loving sense. So that's why this is very practical, very useful in your daily life too. And just to come to experience the possibility of extension, not to choose for fear, but for expansion, for love, for for extending this. So that is really great. That's lovely about this, and that's why I wanted to share that with you, as an introduction again to miracles, because that is what we do here. So we will start reading in this chapter 1, and then the second paragraph, principles of miracles. And so listening and listening are always two too. So it is like, if you are reading, just try to extend this, what you read, in its fullest, completely. Like, yeah, this is what I give to my brother. I love to extend this. And that's the same when you listen to this. Support whoever is reading completely by listening wholeheartedly and receiving this together, as in literally cooperating in this, and seeing that it really doesn't matter who is speaking or who is receiving or who is listening, or that all really does not matter. So the roles that we are see in oneness, in our unity, in the cooperation that we practice here, it is actually that you discover that it really does not matter who is speaking or who is receiving. It is all the same. So that's another opportunity to learn that. It just keeps on going, doesn't it?